Thank you, Nicole. Welcome to the Transit Committee meeting, after a Transit Committee meeting, July 18th, 2023, from 5 to 7. We meet on the third Tuesday of the month. The Transit Committee is a volunteer citizen board designed to offer input and guidance to the Asheville transit system and City Council. We do not set or change routes, control Asheville's transit budget, or have authority over staff, drivers, or the management company. We are a group of citizens like you who are here to ensure community concerns are taken into consideration when setting public transit policy. At this time, I will go ahead and take a roll call, and I will be doing both transit members and staff. We are a group of citizens like Sandy Aldridge. Sandy, Sandy Aldridge. I know she's there. I just need her to say yes. Sandy Aldridge. Georgia Burts. Georgia Burts. Joseph Chesler.
I'm here, Harvey. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Loftus.
I'm here, Harvey.
Bill. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, I'm here.
Colin Kenton. Great, great, great. Colin. Brandon Oliver. Brandon Oliver. And going back, Sandy Aldrich, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Harvey.
So, thank you, Sandy. Thank you.
Mhm.
That's great. We do have a quorum today. That's great. Fantastic. For staff, Jessica Morris. Jessica Morris. Amber Wagner.
Here, Harvey.
I know she's there. Amber Wagner.
Do you hear me, Harvey? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Sorry.
Catherine Landier.
I'm here.
Nicole Hart.
Present.
Barry Riley.
I am here, Harvey. Hi.
Good to hear your voice, Barry.
Yes, sir.
And I know LaShawn is on break.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. All right. Is Kim, Councilwoman Kim Roney here today? Councilwoman Kim Roney. Are you here today? Said she was going to try to make it today. I talked to her early this morning. I'm hoping she'll join us later. Okay. Moving on down in the agenda. Since we do have a quorum, we'll be voting on all the minutes that we have missed these last since April, March. That'll be July the 18th, 2023, March 21st, 2023, April 25th, 2023, May 16th, 2023, June 20th, 2023. 2023. It's 20th. May I have a motion to approve all the minutes?
Motion. Motion, Harvey.
May I have a second?
I'll second that, Harvey. It's Joe.
Okay, thank you, Jay. All right. Harvey Harrell, yay. Sandy Aldridge. Voting.
Yay.
Yay.
Mhm.
Joseph Chesler,
Aye.
Bill Loftus,
Yay.
Colin Kenton. Colin. I know he was there. Colin Kenton. Oh, Colin Kenton. Well, we still have a quorum. Colin, it's not. His mic must be off. Nicole, would you check on that for me, please, if you can?
That's great. Not a day too short.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. At present, we don't have any. Oh, yes. Okay, that passes. All the minutes pass. Public comment. We don't have anybody in public comment as of now. New business. There's no new business. Old business. Transit committee meeting time frame. Back in March, we just had returning to the previous meeting schedule of 3 to 5.
Harvey.
During the March 21st meeting, pardon me?
I apologize. Colin has rejoined the meeting. Also, Brandon Oliver has joined.
Thank you. Brandon Oliver, you here?
I am. Hello, hello.
Thank you. Colin, I'm glad you're back with us. We got a full house just about. I like that. Yes. Great. Okay, transit committee meeting time frame. Discuss the return. We're going to discuss the returning of the previous meeting schedule of 3 to 5 p.m.
You want to leave this in there?
Yeah.
You want to put
What's
this in
that,
there,
Joe?
honey?
I can't hear you.
What are you laughing at?
I think he's talking to somebody else.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
you turn
sorry.
your mic off, Joe.
Pardon me.
Thank you. Discuss returning to the previous meeting schedule of 3 to 5. Yeah, 3 to 5. During the March 21st meeting, 2023, Georgia Burks inquired about the possibility of returning to the previous 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. time frame. The poll results show that 4 in favor of keeping the current 5 to 7 p.m. time frame and 1 in favor of both time frames. At present, does anyone want to entertain the meeting of 3 to 5? Have a discussion about it? If not, we'll go ahead and say that we'll go with the 5 to 7 what we are presently on in virtual. May I have a motion to continue 5 to 7 p.m.?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. Harvey Harold, Sandy Aldridge, we'll vote. Sandy Aldridge,
Yay.
Joseph Chesler,
Aye.
Bill Loftus,
And what am I voting on?
the time frame of 5 to 7 p.m.
Oh, I prefer 3 to 5.
Okay, so you vote nay. Okay,
Correct.
Colin Kenton,
I'll vote for
Colin,
5. I'll vote for 5. It doesn't matter
Brandon
to me.
Oliver.
Yay.
The motion passes for a 5 to 7 p.m. time frame. Thank you. Moving forward, we have the election of the vice chair. The vice chair was elected April 19th, 2022. Since then, we haven't had a quorum to vote on this, but we do on this day. The committee must re-elect or elect a new candidate to assume responsibilities, and the effective date on that will be April 19th, 2023. Sandy Aldridge, would you like to be considered for re-election?
Yes, I would, Harvey. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to be considered for this position? Is there anyone else that would like to be considered for this position? May I have a motion to re-elect Sandy Aldridge as vice chair?
So moved,
I'll make the
Harvey.
motion.
May I have a second?
Second, this is Bill.
Thank you. Okay, the vote. Harvey Harrell, yay. Sandy Aldridge,
Yay.
Joseph Chesler,
Aye.
Bill Loftus,
Aye. Yay.
thank you, Bill. Colin Kenton,
Yay.
thank you, Colin. Brandon Oliver,
Yay.
thank you, Brandon. Vice chair reelected is Sandy Aldridge, and the effective date will be April 19th, 2023. Thank you, Sandy, for staying with us.
Thank you, everyone, for letting
Glad
me do
you-
this position again. Thank you.
Joe got some thumbs up there. Next we have the Joint City and County Transit Plan update. The staff will provide an update on recent activities relating to the Joint Transit Plan. Amber?
Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me, Harvey?
I can barely hear you, but I can hear you.
Can you? Okay. I don't know what
Yeah.
the deal is with my volume. Let me see.
I can
Can
hear
you
you
hear me
fine.
now? Perfect. Okay, great. I don't really have a lot in terms of an update. I wanted to make sure you all were aware of that in the county's budget, the money for the plan was not included in the fiscal year 24 budget. So at this point in time, we are not moving forward with the joint study. At this time, we're still looking at options. The staff are discussing, the county and city staff are in discussions. The city is assessing kind of where it's at and what the next steps are in the project and the plan. So it's unfortunate, but we just found out kind of at the last minute when they approved their budget that money was not included. So at this point in time, I don't have a lot of updates. We're still very interested, and we're kind of assessing our next steps.
Okay. Thank you, Amber.
Yeah,
Very
thank you.
much. Thank you. Okay, moving forward. Communications and outreach update. Did you want to handle that,
Harvey?
Amber?
Harvey, Joe has his hand up.
Excuse me.
Oh.
Yeah, Harvey.
My fault, Joe.
Just,
Go ahead, Joe.
Pardon me. Thank you. Question for Amber. My understanding is there was quite a bit of cost savings in the consolidation of the two agencies. Am I not correct? And if so, was that communicated to the council in the development of the budget?
The study had not gone forward, so we don't really have any estimates on how much money would be saved with the consolidation. That was to be determined with this plan.
Okay. Thank you.
That was something that we were going to analyze. That was in the scope.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
good. That is disappointing. We'll get there.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
it
will.
is.
Well, Harvey, could I jump into this? Is Bill?
Yes, you may. Go ahead.
So
Go ahead, Bill.
did the city approve the money and not the county, or is it ever get to the city? What's the status of both government entities and their funding?
The funding did make it in the city budget for the city portion, and the county portion did not make it in the county's budget.
Okay.
So that's where we stand.
If I
Well,
may
when
follow up.
You say you're going to look at alternatives. I mean, it's either a go, no go, right? There's something
Yeah,
else.
I mean, we're looking at maybe other avenues or a way to have that study conducted. Staff is still assessing what the next steps are. It's really premature for me we don't know at this time what we will do for our next steps.
Yeah, we're not
Okay.
giving up on it.
All right.
Colin?
Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, thank you. I don't have very
You're welcome,
many
Bill.
answers. Thank you.
Mhm. You did well. Thank you. Yeah, like I said, we're not giving up on it. Colin, did you have something you'd like to add?
I don't think so. Did you want me to add something?
If you had anything to say, please say it. Kind of, we all there. Everybody's opinion is valued.
No, I'm all good.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Communications and outreach updates. Staff will provide an update of recent activities.
So thank you, Harvey. We don't have a really big update right now, but I am working with Carmen with Better Buses Together to work on that poster. Thankfully, I've got some help with that, but there's not a huge update for communications right now.
Okay. Okay, let's take a big bite of the next one. Draft art system rules.
Okay, now that one I do have an update.
I know that's right. That's why I said we're taking a big bite now. Draft art system rules. Better Buses Together. Just economics input. We have comments from them, and we'll be listening to Carmen at this time.
Thank you, Harvey.
Carmen,
Thank you, Harvey.
you're welcome.
So I'm hoping that you all have our draft there for you to review, but I first wanted to let you know, I think you saw me as part of Better Buses talking about the rules when you all were reviewing them, and I want to apologize to you all that, you know, we came back with more, and I just wanted to explain. A lot of times, as you all know, I'm sure, you ask people, you know, to help, and they're like, sure, and then, you know, time gets away from them, whatever. So on the second request, which came, you know, later, they started to trickle in. And so this is a result of that. So again, you know, I know that we're moving forward with this, but I appreciate the chance to talk about these. So the first thing that we wanted to change is up in the consequences. We like all of the language, it's all great, but what we were hoping is to move a section that was at the bottom to that area. And I think the thinking was this is all also about the consequences of the levels. And so moving it would make it a little more clear for people if it was all together up front. And then if you scroll down, if you have it, there's a section about reporting any event about, a ban. We would request that there be some clarity in that last sentence. It says under certain circumstances. And so we would just like maybe even just some examples. I think a lot of this for us and the feedback we got was just changing things to make things a little clearer, because the more, we can have this like tight, the less room there'll be for, I didn't know, or I don't understand. So in level 1, number 3, we are requesting, in addition to what's written, be the maximum dimensions so that there is concrete, size as far as what constitutes a large article for people. Number 7, we are requesting that writers should use electronic devices, etc., to must, to indicate that it's a rule, not a suggestion. I don't think there's a whole lot of others. So section 2, number 3, is harassing, threatening, following, and or stalking. We are hoping that stalking can be moved to a level 3. It is still a misdemeanor, but it's the highest misdemeanor, where the other ones are not. And especially because stalking is a repeated circumstance, and it's can really weigh on people more than a couple of times or years. And so we've moved that in our section to level 3 with further definition and the actual portion of the state information. And so you see I crossed out the part that we would like to see up top. We wanted to see, and we still love to see, some changes with the speed at which the appeal process happens. But we understand that these things take time, and to be thorough, they require a bit of time. I guess our concern was that people's bans could be over by the time they, may get, a ruling in their favor. But, time and accuracy is ultimately important. We are hoping that people have everything they need if they receive a ban. And so, we came up with the idea of like a small piece of paper that tells you how to appeal, as well as some sort of system for, the bus driver to write down a number, which would later become the violation number, so that they have everything that they need if they get banned from the bus and, can't go to the garage because they can't, get on the bus. And, there's several of like our riders that don't have the funds to always keep their phones updated. And we feel like that would be, great for people to feel like they're getting heard and to have the tools to do it as soon as possible. And I think those were all of our suggestions. So again, I appreciate your time and this consideration late in the game. Harvey, or I'm
Harvey, you're
sorry,
on mute.
Barry, did you have something?
I was just going to say that I thought all of these, Carmen, being late to the game, you're not. This is a developing product, seriously.
and your group taking the time to put input and thinking about it. It's good information. And the fact
Thank you,
is most
Barry.
agencies already have this kind of stuff laid out.
Thank you.
And so the info is great. And quite honestly, I don't think we have an issue with anything you put in here.
Thank
I
you.
really
I'm
don't.
glad.
I
I
think it's
appreciate
all
that.
it's all important stuff. I know the question about that one, and I can't read it because it's too small on my phone, and I don't have my computer. The one about how. Let's see. Sometimes it takes a while to get video pulled, to get it reviewed. That's why
Mhm.
the time frames are like they are. But I think we
Yeah,
can clarify. I think we can clarify that, and I think I think you guys will be okay with what we put in there.
that would be
It's
great.
Yeah, it's not that tough. And moving the section from the end back to the front, I think it's a great idea. The focus and the attention on what's in there. Um, if it makes it easier to read and understand, that's what we want to try to do. I think that assigning a complaint number or a ban number, that's just going to take some thought process, but I think it can
Sure.
absolutely be done.
Great.
And then the communication, we ought to be able to post how it's done in the county website, and we ought to be able to post that down at the transit center. Although if you're banned and you're at the transit center, you're
Exactly.
probably in trouble.
Mhm.
But
Also,
I
if
haven't.
you get banned not at the transit center, you can't come to the transit center because you're
Right,
banned.
right. Something I thought about earlier, Amber, when I was looking at Carmen's notes and their notes and ideas was maybe we need just to order some business cards.
That's what I thought too when
Yeah,
I was going over this.
it'd be something the soups could hand out. Dispatcher could hand out. Police officers might even, it'd be something
Mhm.
easy to hand
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
And then all the info is there.
No,
Something like that.
we could produce that quick.
And
We could do that.
for us being able to provide them with all of the information.
Mhm.
So this would be the information on who to contact, right? But like not having to get the report, just having some sort of number or whatever you all decide to be able to have everything either on that card or scribbled so that they don't have to worry about these next steps that might be difficult for them.
Okay.
Yeah, we try to reference everything with a name, whoever the individual is, which should keep it locked down pretty tight. And then everybody knows who we're talking about, when we're talking about, and what we're talking about.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
That would be awesome.
I think it's all great stuff.
Yeah. Can I want to thank Carmen. I want to thank Barry and his team, as well as our city staff team. We got this information after we got the outreach. And I actually, Catherine put together just some quick slides for the committee on the requested changes and input and what can be done. And I don't know if you want to go through that, Catherine, or just so if the committee has any questions about what was in the draft that you received and what was in the proposed information from Carmen. And Catherine has that available too, if anybody has any questions.
Yes, I had muted myself because I'm right here on Hendersonville Road, and I was going to mention that Barry, Amber, and Catherine, they will go ahead and give us the details of what they came up with, and that might alleviate some questions that the committee members might have. But Catherine, you go ahead, and then Colin, he'll come right behind you.
Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen so we can go through these quickly. If I can just get the right window or tab. That's what it is. I need the right tab open. Okay. Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
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 Okay. So, like Barry and Amber were saying, we really just want to thank Carmen and her team for pulling together all this feedback and reaching out and getting the information that we needed to kind of just piece together what was missing or just some little details that were important that we may have not have noticed. So for this, I just wanted to go through these slides, just one suggestion at a time. So that way it's a little bit clearer if you did have some questions about it. Because I know everyone has the document to be able to see them, but just one at a time. And then we also have our city responses with operations, kind of how we'll be able to go through it. So the first one under the consequences that she mentioned, that Carmen mentioned, was that paragraph being moved. So it's not changing any content. It's just the paragraph that lists the steps that take place after a violation occurs and moving it from where it is now, which is below all the levels listed, the descriptions listed. Instead of below, it would just be above it, which I think is completely doable. So that suggestion, we can do that for sure. The next one is also under consequences, and where Carmen was talking about under certain circumstances needed to be clarified. Then Art will respond to the writer with a decision within 7 days. So we decided to add some language there under certain circumstances that require further investigation and or staff response that are off duty. I think that was the biggest issue when we were thinking of certain circumstances, was if we're trying to get a hold of a supervisor or a dispatcher or someone who was involved that isn't available for a couple days, we wanted to give ourselves a window to be able to contact them. So that would be the specific circumstances, and we can add that. The next is under level 1 section, and it's under number 4, where they were requesting that we be specific about the size of the carts. I think that's perfectly understandable, and we have some language here that we could add. Permitted carts must not exceed 30 inches wide and 30 inches long. And that's the same width of a wheelchair that's acceptable onto a bus. So I figured that might be a good standard, and it's also enough space. It's not taking up too much obstruction, or it's not obstructing too much. The next one was also under level 1, and it's under number 7, and that was the language Carmen mentioned from should to must, which we can do. Then under level 2, the stalking language, taking that out and adding it to a level 3 violation and adding the definition. I think that's smart. So we would be comfortable adding that as well. And this is the language that Carmen suggested, and we can use that. That's fine. Then under the appeal process, the request was that the van driver be given a violation number and information on how to appeal. And we discussed that.
I apologize. Rider, of course, is what I meant there. Typing too quickly. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, no.
That's okay.
We knew it. We knew what it meant.
I think I copy and pasted too. Otherwise, I would have just typed it out. So, definitely we can add under the paragraph that has the steps that the staff take in response. We talked about a couple sentences that would be beneficial. So this is what we came up with. Staff will take down the rider's name and contact information to include in the violation report. At this point, staff will provide information to the rider on how to appeal this violation and ban order, which I'm guessing could maybe be those cards. If the rider refuses to provide their name and contact information, which that does happen sometimes, staff will complete the report with unknown listed for the rider, just because there will be times where we have the conflict of not getting the information that we might need in order to give it to them, the appeal information. So that's the response we can have there. And I'd like to go ahead and finish these pieces, and then we can talk about it at the end, but we can always jump back. I can go back to each slide. Just remember, take a note if you have a question really quick, and then we'll come back to it. The next part of that appeal process request was to include a violation number, and that would be enough to initiate an appeal. So in order to maintain this record, we have to document everything that is done, and we also have to make sure we have documentation of what the response is from the public. So we need a report to be filed on our end and on the rider's end. So the process would remain the same, but we would keep a record of our own, and then we would also document everything that the rider could bring to us or send to us or call or however they need to get it to us. Now, if anyone has questions and wants me to hop back, then I can hop back to whichever slide you want.
Okay, we have Barry.
I'm good. I didn't put my hand up. I think she's covered everything. I'm sorry. Yeah, there
Okay.
you go.
Joseph. Thank you, Barry.
Yes, hi, Catherine, great job. Was curious though, just in terms of, since this is going public, eventually, to what extent have we received city attorney validation or review of legal aspects of this?
It hasn't gotten to that point yet. At first, we want to make sure we have the content correct and what is capable of operations and city staff. But after we get this piece of it done, then we can go forward with the legal avenue.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you.
might be helpful. It might be helpful to get some preliminary input or confirmation early in the process, just a added team member of the analysis. Just a suggestion.
Right.
Thank you, Jeff. Carmen, you have your hand raised.
I did. So I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the writer needing the report. I think that, like I said, our concern really is for writers to have the tools when they're banned in order to have all the information in case they want to appeal. Having to get the report for a lot of people would be difficult in the circumstances that I mentioned. If you just don't have access to things the way a lot of people don't. So and Barry, suggested just having their names or unknown be enough information for them to move forward with the appeal. And I would really ask that be considered so that people didn't have to track down a report, because when you're in survival mode, I really think that adding another step in what already has to be a frustrating process can really make things even harder.
So, Amber, do you want to take it?
Amber has her hand up.
Harvey said,
I'll probably also I'll also defer to Barry. I mean, if there could be something like the card that you'd write down, maybe the violation number, and that we would have it tracked as the name, would that be sufficient within the process? And this is definitely something we can look. We need a record of it that we'd have on our end. But if they had something that we gave them during the ban, and I guess the question is if they leave premises and don't give us their contact information or don't take the card or whatever, which is the case, what does that mean? And I think we can work through the process as Barry indicated. Catherine and Barry, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, a number can be as simple as 7, 18, 23, 333. And that, it can be that simple and that straightforward. But realistically, and I want to be sure we're clear with Carmen, or that we're only a phone call away. The city folks, the operations folks, the complaint line, those are phone calls that can be made. And if we have to mail something out to somebody, we'll mail it right out to them. Or if I have to have a supervisor come meet them and hand them their ban paperwork. If they're not accepting it when we do it, do we have to make another step to make it happen? If we offered it and they refuse to take it, come get it. We offered it.
I really feel like I don't want to speak for the whole group, but I generally think that if you didn't want it, then that's kind of it, right? And then if you wanted to pursue it, go through the proper channels to do that. And the phone call away is difficult, but I feel like if you made the choice to walk away without getting that information, and it's covered in the rules that people will see, there's not a whole lot else like tracking down people. Like that would be very difficult.
And let's say again, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that if 4 days later they're trying to get on a bus and they find out, oh yeah, I got banned 4 days ago. Maybe I was in a daze when I got banned and I didn't remember it. And now it's like, I am really up the creek. I have to get to work. How am I going to get to work? I got banned. How do I get unbanned? Is there a way to do that? How long am I banned for? Make the call or work with BBT or whomever to get the information and get to us, and we'll get the information back to them so that they can begin that process. It's not like we're going to cut them off and say, no, we're not talking to you ever. We want to make it possible for them to get back if it's if it's a 1 or a 2. There should be an opportunity to be back on the bus, and we want to make that possible for them. That's what our service is about. There are just some rules that we really need to have followed. That's all. So I think we're all on the same page.
Thank you, Barry.
Yep.
Once again, I'd just like to thank everybody for their input. Carmen, thank you for taking the time. Catherine, Barry, all of the team. It's been greatly appreciated, and we really spent some time on these rules to make sure that they cover, the behavior, just some of the information for riders, so all can ride safely.
And we as Better Buses really appreciate being part of this conversation. I know I said it to staff, but we feel very fortunate to have the relationship we do with staff and to be able to come and talk to all of you. So thank all of you. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
Everybody's opinion, like I always say, is valued.
Thank you.
And one more thing before we go forward. The level 1, number 4. How did we say that on maximum dimensions, 30 inches by what? Or was that height, width? We haven't discussed that yet. I heard 30 inches somewhere.
30 wide, 30
inches
high.
Yeah, 30. Well, it's 30 inches by 30 inches. So that's length and width.
Is that for a package?
For a cart.
I'm curious, I'm sorry to just jump in without raising my hand, why we would have to notate a cart, because if I had a box that was that size,
right,
couldn't I use that?
I think if we need to clarify, we can, but I think it's the easy access and mobility to the cart that you can move it out of the way efficiently without shoving it on the ground. It has wheels, so maybe that could be something we talk about.
Yeah, because I had these 2 pictures that I took. I want to show them today, and that's one from the base of the bus to where the individual is sitting. And I believe this is the same cart, but this is an individual sitting with a cart open. Can you see that? Yeah. That's him sitting with it. And I had some more, but that's what I was wanting to show you. Did you see the one where the man was sitting with it with the rag on his head?
I couldn't see the second image, no.
You're not putting
He's
the images
right
by
there in
your
that
camera.
Right there. There he is. Now you can see it. The cart's open.
Yeah.
But what's the width between seats? So what's the aisle width of the bus?
Come out from person to person.
What we used was what a wheelchair width is allowable according to the FTA.
But a wheelchair gets parked where the 3 seats get pulled up and they get pushed to the side. A wheelchair is not going to be in the middle of the aisle.
No, and a cart would have to be in that front wheelchair area. I mean, you can't run a cart to the back of the bus. It's got to be in that area where it's not blocking an aisle.
Right, right. So are they going to have to raise the seats if they bring a cart on of that size?
Yep. They can sit in the seat and they can keep the cart in front of them if they're not blocking the aisle. If they need to raise a seat, they can do that as well. The reason we used that dimension was that's as big as a wheelchair is. Seems to be a number that's been gone through and tried and true and practiced with. We thought, well, that'd be maximum we want to have. Most carts are not 30 wide or 30 deep, 30 tall. They're like this. They're smaller, but that maximum would be there. Carrying a box that's 30 by 30 onto the bus. The idea was, what size cart can a person use? And that was why we came up with the 30 inches, because that's how big a wheelchair is wide-wise. And it would go in that front area.
And that's the max, the
Yeah.
max that you can bring.
Now this is a picture of luggage coming on the bus. This is on the S6.
I just see your
And
hand.
that's in a chair, and it has more than one piece of
Move
luggage.
back to the
in that
left
chair.
a little. There.
And that's in the seat on the S6. And this is it sitting in the floor of the bus.
Yeah.
And it was just leaning. I was ready for it to come out of the seat. And I'm surprised it didn't all the way out to Hendersonville, out there by CVS on Hendersonville Road. But it stayed in the seat. But the driver, he's the one that uses his judgment to say yes or no. You can get on the bus with that. But the bus wasn't that full, and everything went as normal. But that's why I say it's at the driver's discretion to let package on or a cart.
Well, it's kind of why we want to give a maximum size, Harvey, because really the driver, if that bus is loaded front to rear with standing room only,
Right.
It's going to be hard to let that person on at all. And the fact is, if that bus is that full and we've got a wheelchair passenger to board, we should be asking for people to make room for the wheelchair. But if there is no room, they need to report that to dispatch, and dispatch can, if another bus is going to be by in the next half hour, we need to find a way to accommodate that passenger that's ADA. There's all of the things that drivers have to deal with. And you want to take some of the discretion that we give them away so they can just say, oh, fast and rule, it's 30 inches. Okay, it's good. And just keep it out of the aisle,
Yeah, but then when we're saying that, we necessarily are saying, well, the driver has to have a tape measure with it.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, yeah, I would say there's probably
Somebody says 29.
There's probably a reference on the bus somewhere. It basically is the width of a wheelchair, parking in a wheelchair stall, basically. So there's some reference to it there. You're right. We don't want to have everybody having to have a tape measure.
We could have some tape on the floor of the bus.
It'd be like when you get on a ride, like there's a mark. We could just paint a little line. No, I'm kidding. Is there some further discussion, or what were the suggestions on this? That they just needed more clarity?
Just a maximum
More clarity,
size.
maximum size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else have anything to add, input to add? Okay. Let me get my paperwork together here and I'll be moving along. Okay, thank y'all. Thank everyone for their input. It was greatly needed, and it was great input, and we appreciate it very much. One more question. When we put the draft out, do you think it'll be within a week or two?
Do I think it'll be within a week or two that we'll be using it?
No, to have the final what we want to put out, so everybody can see it.
If you guys want to vote on it tonight and you are approving of the changes we talked about, then I mean I can add all those changes that we discussed and then have that done in a couple days. So next week it'll be done that you can view it. But then we also want to go through the city channels with legal to make sure that everything's exactly dotted and crossed.
I'd rather wait till the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather wait till the next meeting. And we'll be more unified on the final thing, final draft of it. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you everybody for that.
Harvey, why are we waiting? This is Bill.
Mainly because as far as voting on it, because all the pieces aren't together on the draft. It's still draft.
Oh, I thought it was a draft.
No, it's not final product yet.
When I read the communication, I thought we were going to be voting on this thing. So what's not finished?
Harvey,
I guess
you want me to
putting all
take
the
a
lines and sentences together the way they're supposed to be. Because what I'm looking at here, what I'm looking at here, what I have, and what I'm looking at here, I can't understand it. I know how it's going, but it's not in a full format. And these are the rules that Catherine has. These are the ones that Carmen has. These two reports here. And
Okay,
get
you
them together.
want to see a clean draft before we vote, right?
Yes, sir.
Mhm. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
and we can provide that.
Thank you.
We can provide
Thank
that.
you, Bill. I appreciate that. Yes. Okay. Moving forward. Transit committee member updates and rider experience.
I have a couple of things I would like to talk about, Harvey.
Okay. Sandy is in the queue.
I will try to go through these as quickly as possible, but they need to be heard. Recently on one ride bus that I was on, a gentleman in a electric wheelchair was asked by the driver if he couldn't take the next bus, as in the driver was discouraging him. I don't know why he didn't want the guy to be on his bus, whether he didn't want to deal with the wheelchair or what it was. And then also after that, the driver was yelling at the guy in the electric wheelchair to back up. And he yelled, "Get back," like about 4 times, which I thought was totally unnecessary. And that's the end of that one. And also personally,
Well, hang on. This is Barry.
Hey.
When,
Yes.
where, and what route, at what time?
okay,
Was that turned in? Was that turned in?
I'm getting it together. And if you would let me finish everything without interrupting, I would totally appreciate it. Okay. The second instance is personal. I have been injured multiple times. I have tons of medical documentation, but there are certain drivers who cannot stand to kneel the bus. And in order to kneel the bus, there's a switch that you lean over and flick up to kneel the bus. Flick down to kneel the bus and flick up to raise the bus back up. And I was getting on the bus at Walmart Bleachery, and it was all the way up. So I asked the driver if she could kneel the bus, and she gave me this crazy look, and she kneeled the bus. I got on the bus. I scanned my card on the way to a seat, and she's like, "Haven't I seen you walking upstairs?" And I'm like, that's really none of your business, because it isn't. Okay. And so she proceeds to get out of her seat, face me, and start yelling at me. And has it already on her lips that you need to get off the bus, and if you don't, I'm going to call APD. For what? Everybody on the bus was shocked. I was shocked, but I went ahead and got off the bus because I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. And I'd like to know from Barry, how do they think that they can determine if a person needs the bus kneeled or not? How did the drivers determine that?
The drivers don't. They are supposed to do it, period, if they're asked to do it.
Okay. So there are certain ones, and I will share that with you personally, that make it a habit not to do that. Now, some drivers, even some new ones, they lower the bus every single time because you have so many people that have been injured, whatnot, elderly especially, that really need it kneeled just to get on the bus and everything. And I think it's very rude and disrespectful for the ones that don't do that. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Sandy. Okay.
Harvey, can I
Bill?
respond?
Bill,
Hello?
did you have anything to say you'd like to add?
Well, I think that was a interesting story, and it was a awful story. Is this process the way to handle that kind of thing? It occurred to me that that's the type of thing that needs to be handled immediately. But our group meets monthly. Is there a process at the transit department to deal with complaints like this? Because that's unacceptable. What do we do about that?
Amber has her hand raised.
I can also defer to Barry, but we take complaints. Complaints can call our office. It's better. We've advised everyone, including our transit committee members, to contact staff immediately. And staff is very accessible. And then we put it on a complaint log. It is easier to address these, particularly in the cases that Sandy brought up. It's easier to pull that video quicker than later. So the operations team can investigate it and address it. There's complaint forms at the transit center. There's the call-in that you can contact our office. And most of us are just a phone call away. You can email me, you can text me. Some of you do when there are issues that pop up. But the general public and you all have the opportunity at the transit center and to give us a call and to give us an email. And I think even LaShawn's given folks her number. So it's easier to address those type of complaints on the front end than on the back end. And Barry, if you want to add anything to that I'm missing.
I would agree that if that is the behavior that was exhibited, it is unacceptable.
It is.
I can't say it any other way. And so that's what video does, is allows us to review and get the entire perspective, which we will do with anytime we can with a complaint. Video seems to be, video and audio on the bus helps to really zero in on complaints and gives us teaching moments for drivers and or teaching moments for passengers. It's a wonderful tool, and we try to use it whenever possible. That's why you're absolutely correct. If you get it called in, fairly quickly, fairly immediately, then we have the opportunity to investigate and talk with the individual. We don't have 59 drivers that are complete jerks. We don't have one or two that are complete jerks. It's just not reality. So if we have something that was put out there that was not what was supposed to have been put out there, we're all over it, and we're more than happy to get all over it. And that's what our function is. And it's just what we do. We'll be more than happy to dig right in.
Well, I sort of
Thank you.
this is Bill. Back
Go
to
ahead,
you.
Bill.
So I kind of thought we had a process like that, but Sandy, did you follow the process, or you just choosing this meeting to
Yes,
sort
Bill.
of?
Yes, I did. I followed the complete process. I contacted city staff and, so someone could look at the video. And I found out today that the video was looked at and that they decided that there was no, that the driver did nothing wrong, which is kind of funny to me, because yelling at someone. Oh, and there was a gentleman outside the bus who heard her yelling at me outside the bus at the bus stop. So I'm still looking into this to find out why she wasn't talked to or reprimanded or whatever the case may be, because that's ridiculous. So yeah.
Okay. So this is that correct?
I'm sorry.
Bill's talking to Sandy. Yeah.
What did you say?
Bill is talking to Sandy.
What'd you say, Bill?
Bill? Go ahead, Bill. Barry? Barry has his hand raised. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, I just want to say that many times the response to a complaint or a person making a complaint is more about the fact that what we received in the complaint is not what we're seeing on the video. And many times, and we have done this over time, if a person, if we say that a person has misstated the facts of this complaint, we're more than happy to show that person the video in person to get a clear understanding of what the facts of the video are. More than happy to do that with anybody that wishes to do that.
Yeah, I would love that. And I may bring the city attorney with me, Brad, actually.
Well, I would be more than happy to do it with you at first. And then if the city and or the police would like to subpoena the record, they can.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea too, because it seems that the riders, we have no recourse. We get harassed, we get threatened, we have no recourse. The security guards at the art station are for the drivers. I asked them, they told me specifically that. So the riders, depending on every kind of situation every day, we don't have any recourse, especially if we're told that the driver did nothing wrong, when we know good and well, and we're not lying that they did do something wrong.
More than happy to have you come over and take a look at that with me.
Right on.
Are there any more comments concerning this? Amber, you had your hand up at one time. I don't know whether you still wanted to say something or not.
I can't remember. No, I think I had it on the tip of my tongue and now I can't remember.
You were
and-
going to say that Barry was going to send you the video and you were going to review it with her. Oh, no, that's not it. I'm sorry. Listen,
No,
there's no reason. We don't have people are dealing with stuff all day long, whether it's passengers, drivers, security guards, county staff, city staff. Everybody's dealing with stuff all the time. We don't need to be cantankerous about it. Let's look at the facts. Let's make decisions and move on. It's what we should be doing.
And I'm happy to, Sandy. I mean, as I've given you my contact information. If I've seen one email in the month of July, and maybe there's been more. I haven't had the time to look at the complaint log in the last week, but I'm more than happy. I'll review the video with you. I can go over there. It's whatever works. But we want to make sure that there are issues that if they do need to be addressed, that they're addressed. Particularly, I mean, in terms of when you look at, we have a bunch of new drivers on the street and we want to make sure they're trained properly. And we want to make sure that if there are issues that we address them quicker than later. So I appreciate your input and we'll work with Barry. And if there's anything else you need from city staff, let me know.
I appreciate that, Amber, very much. I know you guys are always available. And I would like to look at the video and maybe you can attend with me or maybe one of the city council members. I appreciate it.
We'll work together and schedule with Barry and we'll work through that. Does that sound like a good plan? Barry, does that work?
Yes, that absolutely works.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy, and everyone for your input. So I like transit committee member updates, rider experience. Are there any others that would like to give their member updates, rider experiences? We'd love to hear them. Because I always push for committee members to ride the bus and get the experience. And everybody's input has value.
I'll add. I don't know the.
Thank you, Colin.
I don't know the bus driver's name. It was on N1 last week, but he did indicate that he was a former bus driver, had quit for a couple of years, and just came back. And it was northbound on N1. And a lady who works at Bojangles had left Bojangles and was running to the bus stop, and he actually stopped and let her get on. And I've seen bus drivers just drive on past people that were obviously running to the bus stop. And I told him I was very pleased that he stopped and let her get on, because otherwise she wouldn't have had a ride. So, but I don't know his name, but I said, it was a nice guy. So.
I'll bet that was Steven. He's a great guy. He really is a good driver. Yep.
He had left for a couple of years and rode, did some commercial driving or somewhere else.
Yep.
But came back. So.
Very good.
Yeah.
Because I figure you give Barry a piece, he'll know exactly who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's correct.
I've also had
yes, Colin, I've seen drivers do that as well.
Mhm.
They'll stop and wait on the passenger to get on board. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
But it's unfortunately it's not all drivers. There are a number of drivers, and and to give credence to Sandy, that there are drivers out there that do not have good people skills. And
well, it just goes, okay. Barry, I guess he can back me up on this. It's like being at the station Once that driver leaves out of the slip, he doesn't have obligations to stop the bus if somebody's hollering that they want to get on the bus. Is that right, Barry?
That's correct. What the driver is doing is driving a 30,000-pound rig, and he's pulling out with people on, in, and around his vehicle all day long. He or she needs to be very aware of their surroundings. So if someone is running towards the bus, you know what? I drove. It was a long time ago, but I drove too. If someone was running towards the bus and I was in the moment not having to worry about the cross traffic up ahead, a car on the left of me, a car to the right of me, people walking on the street to the right of me. If I'm not if I'm paying attention and I'm looking in my rearview mirror and I'm, who's behind me, who's around me, and I can get stopped and do it safely and I've got the time to make that decision, I do it and I did it. And that's what we expect our drivers to do. But this job includes people's safety and their lives. And so the rule is you don't stop if you're not at a stop, period. Because it takes away that risk factor. What is our business all about? Risk. If you make a stop and someone rear into you, is it your fault? No. But the person who's injured on your bus now has to make a claim with that person who rear-ended us, because they got hurt. So there's a risk factor with those kind of things happening. You have to make good decisions. In this group right here, and I don't know how many of you have drivers. I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us have driver's license. And I'll guarantee you, out of all 5 of us that have driver's license on this call right now, some of us are constantly driving, looking in the rearview mirror and the side mirrors and know our surroundings at all times. 1 or 2 of us do not. That's just reality. So to be able to make when we talked about earlier about taking the onus off of the driver to make that unsafe decision to stop because that person's running, we take it away from them because we want them to be as safe as they possibly can. If that's the level of their expertise, I don't have a huge problem with them not picking up the person. If they're not early, you can't be early and leave people standing. That's not right. But it's a 30,000-pound rig. People on, in, and around it all day long. You are at a high risk for everything you do. So some of that we give them. But you're right, Colin. If they're not stopping for them, why weren't they at the stop?
Okay,
Come on.
Hold on, Barry. I simply made a comment that some of your drivers don't have good people skills. The reason why this lady wasn't at the stop was because her job, the Bojangles, closed early, and so she was just she just left work trying to get to the bus stop, and the guy was a nice guy. So I was just trying to point out that he was a nice guy, and he stopped and picked her up. I didn't ask you to preach to me about why the bus is 30,000 pounds, okay? I would just point out that some of the drivers don't have good people skills. Has nothing to do with whether they stop midway or not. That's just getting off topic. But,
Well, I guess and some of the people on this call don't have good people skills. That's just reality. Everybody's got their good things, their bad things, and their indifferent things. Understand the driver doesn't have bad people skills because he didn't stop for that woman. That's all I'm saying. There's reasons. There's reasons for why they do and do not do what they do. But there's no reason, if Sandy is correct about how she was treated, there's no reason for an individual to be treated that way. And so let's look at that video together and let's make our determination. That's why we have it.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Barry. Amber?
And I'd like to add, anytime you see instances where there are issues of customer service, call it in, let us know. It's easier to address it when we see it, and then we can we can address it with operations, can address it with the operator. A lot of it is teachable moments, and we all have it on the video that they can replay. And a lot of it is good refresher training. And it's just another instance. I mean, we want everyone to be treated with respect. And the behavior that Sandy indicated with the person in the electric wheelchair being told to get off the bus or take another one. I mean, those just they're not appropriate. And we don't want our operators acting that way if that's what happened. So we can address that if we were able to go back and look at it, and we can communicate and try to build better customer service skills. So thank you.
Thank you, Amber. I appreciate that. That's what I like. Good information. Good stuff. Henderson Wheel Road again. My ambulances. Anyone else like to add anything to that, or have their own experience? Okay. As far as me, I talk to a lot of drivers all the time. I'm glad now. Before I hadn't heard this, but now, right now, they have drivers watching what the committee is doing now. I didn't know it until a couple of weeks ago. They said, "Yeah, we look at them now. We look at them now." I've got that comment from some drivers. That made me feel good that the conversations I be having with the drivers, because I asked them to look at the committee and see what we'll be talking about. It's just, total circle going all the way around. It's good. It's transit. We're all together on the circle. And I appreciated hearing that the last week. And the drivers that I wanted to give a shout out to this month were Kendra, Daniel, and Alfred. And also, I wanted to give a shout out to Chantel, one of our dispatchers. She's very nice, and I like to give her a shout out today. And anytime I take a picture of a driver or dispatch, I always ask them before I take the picture. And they're very kind about that. I started that last month, but they really like that. And then a couple weeks ago, I gave them all the pictures that I took of them. I gave all of them their pictures, and they were so happy to have those pictures. And I was happy that they were happy. Did I look like that day? I said, you sure did. And then most of the ladies, they said, I need to start exercising. I said, really? I said, okay, take it the way you want to take it. But we do have nice drivers. They're all together, and they're a great bunch of people. Great bunch of people. The other thing I was wanting to go over was I saw this on TV, and I don't know how this impacts Asheville. And Barry, you might have saw it. Amber, y'all might have saw it. Catherine, and it was last month bus driver in Charlotte. The passenger pulled out a gun on the bus driver, and then the bus driver, he pulls out his gun, and he starts shooting at the guy on the bus. And then the guy on the bus, he's easing by him. He goes out the other door on the bus, and then the bus driver, he's in the other door, and he's firing rounds off at the other guy. And I said, I was wanting to ask, are our drivers able to get a concealed weapons permit or necessarily bring it to work with them? I know they can't conceal it or anything like that, but I know it's probably not authorized at all. But I was just wanting to put the fact out there that the Charlotte bus driver had the pistol and he was shooting back at that. And there was nothing done about that I heard of. So Barry, you go ahead.
Yeah, I can answer it for you, Harvey. Our ATP Dev has a policy. There will be no weapons on on yourself or on your premises, in your vehicle, on the premises, period. You're not allowed to have one. It'd be nice to spread the word to everybody that everybody's carrying, but no, we're not spreading that word. You cannot carry on the bus, period. And the person that you're talking about was terminated for that because that was a
Okay, I figured
violation
you
of
had heard
policy.
something about
Yeah,
it.
that was a violation
Yeah,
of
'cause I saw
policy.
that. I said, wow, shootout.
Unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yes, it
Unbelievable.
was. Yes, it was. I had asked, I always ask, whenever something's wrong at the station or wherever I see something wrong, I talk it over with the drivers or people at the station. Went there a couple weeks ago and saw that the slots were not filled for the different routes. There were only like I'd say 6 or 8 pamphlets for the routes in the slots. So immediately, that's when I call. I don't wait 20 hours later. At the bus station, I said there are no route maps for people to pick up and take with them. So immediately I called, and the next day, it was on a Monday, I think it was Wednesday, and then on a Friday I came back because I was going to class, and I came back that Friday, and all of the slots were filled up. If you ask uh, for something to be done, and then I was told those dispatch is supposed to take care of that every morning, make sure those slots are filled. And they were not being filled. But like I said, things get taken care of when you just ask, put in a request for it to be done. That's helping a bunch of people. I mean, that's helping a lot of people that walk in there. If they don't see one, they're not going to ask anywhere else. It's just not there. But they were able to, have the slots filled. It was great. I appreciate that very much. I appreciate that very much. And going up the slope to Mayheck, a lot of the drivers in S6, they're complaining about that magnolia tree. Y'all might have gotten this complaint. Uh, Taking that right turn going up the hill, they can't see what's coming down the hill. It's a big magnolia tree right there. It can be trimmed instead of cutting it down. And I was just wanting to know, had anyone of staff heard about that tree going up the Mayheck?
Hey Harvey, I did. I heard about it from a couple different people at RappiDev, and so I called over to Mayheck and talked with what was their title? I can't remember the title, but they worked in maintenance, and they said that they would let the crew know that has to cut back the tree. So they took the request in. I'm not sure. That was earlier this week, so I'm not sure if it's been looked into, but they did add it to their requests. So I'll check back with them next week.
I appreciate that very much. Appreciate that very much. Okay, let me see. Terminal tree extended hours. The next thing I want to say, I don't want to say too much about it, but I want to mention something about it. As far as saying what you saw, say something about it. Do something about it. Report it. Last Wednesday, I was on the bus. I recorded part of it. I'm quite sure y'all know about it. There was a great big thing going on, all this cussing, shouting, hooting, hollering. And, it was the driver called dispatch from what I could hear. But in the melee, it was an incident between the driver and the passenger. And then we went on down the road. And that took some 20 minutes for me to get home. Then I had to stop and CVS and go in there, but it took some 45 minutes before I called staff and asked had they heard about it. Nobody heard about it. Let somebody know what you saw and report it. Then I was commended for letting staff know, what happened. That way, like Barry said, now is the time to act. Not 10 hours later, not tomorrow, not next week, 2 weeks from now. That way they can pull the footage. And I was commended for this. And they got it. The footage was pulled right then and there. Something was done about that day. Not 10 hours later, not 5 hours later. Something was done when the bus came back in. That's the important thing about reporting things that have been done. Now, not later. And that'll be it for me today, but I'm so glad to be associated with transit. Like I said, it puts tears in my eyes. But, there is one more thing I want to say. It's about the signs that go on the bus. I didn't understand this sign until I got to know some people at Sunrise University. And it's all about saving somebody's life. When I first saw it, I thought it was saying, okay, since you're using drugs, bring it by here. We're going to test it for you. Make sure you're straight, you can do your drugs or whatever, But it's all about saving someone's life. And that number right there can save somebody's life. If it only saves one person's life, these posters on our buses. But it's all about saving somebody's life. The drug dealers, they put anything and everything in those drugs, and they're going to use the drugs, but at least let them get it tested, and there's somewhere they can go get it tested before they use it. And if you only save one life is very important. Everybody's life is important. But it took me going to classes at Career University and understanding the meaning behind those. But I do understand it now. And I'm glad these signs are up in the bus. And that's it for me on this thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey.
And
appreciate all the input.
You're more than welcome, Barry. Thank you. If there's no one else, we'll move along. Departmental updates. Amber.
I don't have much to add other than what was in the memo that I distributed. We working on our triennial review process. It's ongoing. There'll be a virtual on-site review. They will be giving us additional questions probably in the next couple of weeks, packets of information that we'll have to follow back up on. The triennial review is a 3-year process that they go back for those 3 years, and there's 21 compliance areas. We're also have a contract with a consultant for transit grant support to help us. We've had so many transitions with staff and vacancies that we need some additional training and help with our processes and our subrecipient oversight process. So our transit consultant will work on that with our grants to help staff, and so we can implement the processes to better manage our grants and get them processed along. This past month, staff have been working on grants a large majority of the time to try to get some of our grants processed, and also working on drawdowns for the end of the year. I did give a brief update on the joint transit plan, and when I have more information, I'll provide it when we know if there's additional follow-up and next steps with the city. Are there any additional questions?
I don't have any. Any of my other committee members have any questions for Amber on?
Yeah, this is Bill. Amber, what grants are you applying for?
These are just our standard, like our formula funding grants, as well as the just the grants that get processed for the urbanized area. We're the designated recipient, so we monitor and we also administer those grants on behalf of the urbanized area to the 8 subrecipients. So every year we apply. The funding gets appropriated and allocated, and then we apply through TRAMS. And then there's a process, a pre-award and a post-award process, and then we have to manage them. And there's quarterly reports. We have to obtain spending plans. Part of it is the urbanized formula funding, the 5310, and the JARC funds that we apply for, which we receive as the MPO goes through and selects that process. We administers those funds as well. We had the bus stop improvement grant that was applied and approved, but we had to actually apply for those funds, and that's been awarded. It's been a couple of years, but we did get that executed. So then we can draw down the funds to work on that. And Catherine's been working on that bus stop amenity plan. It was $1 million. It was awarded, I believe, in 21. There's a backlog of grants that we're working on on the administrative side.
So just to make sure I get the context, these are routine funding requests that come through grants that we use for our system.
Yes.
So it's special here. It's just normal year. This time of year, there's a grant writing process that goes on that we helps to fund our system. Is that correct?
It's a continual process that grantees with the federal transit that receive federal transit administrative funding go through, and they do it through a portal called TRAMS. It's like Transit Grant Management Software. I can't remember for sure exactly what it means, but it's called TRAMS. And it manages all of our grants. And it also includes discretionary grants, like the bus stop improvement was a discretionary grant, meaning that was an additional grant that was applied for. There will be an upcoming, probably discretionary, it happens every year, that for buses, we've done that in the past. So there's all sorts, and we've let the committee know when we've applied for those grants, and we haven't applied in the last, I believe, 8 months or so for grants. But we annually apply for these routinely because it's an annual appropriation that we receive by a formula distribution that all that all designated recipients receive. And then states receive it as well. And then they work with small rural systems and distribute funding as well.
Okay, so nothing special, just normal process, right?
Normal process, but it's very important because that's how and it's not a huge portion, but it's a relatively significant portion of funds. You know, it's over $1 million for the city of Asheville each year, just in the 5307 funds for the urbanized system. And then the JARC and the 5310, fund a portion of our paratransit as well as the Black Mountain and the airport service. So it's important funding that we administer to all the area systems.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Catherine, the money that you saying they got from grant, I got something in my eye. Are those for just one specific bus stop getting fixed, or 2 bus stops getting fixed, or for a bunch of them?
For a lot of bus stops getting fixed.
Good.
Yeah.
Because I know I'd ask you about some on Patton Avenue. So they're included.
Yeah, we have a whole list of all the bus stops that need improvements. We have them separated out by what type of improvement each bus stop needs. And now we have it prioritized with when we are getting certain amenities completed before others. And we're getting So close. I'm getting so excited to finally actually having pieces. We got the trash cans, which is great. That's exciting. But
That's
soon
great.
we'll have other things like shelters and seating and lighting. And those things are really exciting. Trash cans are not as exciting as other stuff, but
That's good.
still necessary.
Those shelters are great.
Mhm.
Okay. That any other comment about this? I was wanting to read everybody something. I got this on my phone. It's from Councilwoman Roney. Harvey, we got stuck in a storm and our return got delayed while out of cell service range. I'm not sure if or when this message will get to you, but we'll watch Transit Committee archive and follow up on any action taken. My apologies, Councilwoman Kim Roney. Okay. On operation updates, we have time enough to go through a couple of these. Last month we noticed that Councilwoman Ronan noticed the discrepancy on one of the reports, and it was, staff really appreciated that. But we was wanting to go through. Does anybody have any particular report that they would like to discuss on the operation updates? If not, we're gonna go ahead and staff, would you go ahead and take us through an education course on the first two on time performance summary for June and on time performance summary by route, please.
Catherine or Nicole, can you bring that up on the screen? Share it with us.
They're working on it.
That's fine.
You need me to? Or Nicole, are you working on it, or Catherine?
I'm working on it. Bear with me.
Okay, thank you, Nicole.
Okay. We're good.
Thank you, Nicole.
Nicole, I got it. Do you got it? I don't
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
jump the gun. You volunteered.
Right, is that visible?
It is.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so this is an on-time performance and evaluation of, and it looks like it is going to be for the entire month for the whole system. Okay, and what this does is it each route and each time point that is designated as a timed point is captured and calculated as either early, on time, or late. Early, if it's more than, let's see, does that say over here? Is that by 30 seconds? Half a minute. If it's early by a half a minute, it will record it as early. If it is later than 5 minutes, it will record it as late. So on the month, we ran at 69.7%. And June is down compared to, this was June, correct? Yeah. Yeah, June 1.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
true.
And yeah, and it's down, and quite honestly, hey, traffic is way up with visitors to the city. And that's what happens when the traffic starts delaying the routes start recording later times. And so they run later. So that's what this does. And then every route is broke down. This particular sheet here rolls them all up into this one summary.
Nicole, can you provide the one that shows it by route?
Yes, ma'am. Bear with me.
So this one is basically all of that data, but for each individual route, showing what each individual route is doing for the month.
Okay. I can't necessarily read that little tiny writing, but I know in the afternoons, sometimes at 12, sometimes at 1, and then sometimes like between 3 and 5. The S3 and the S6, they just sitting out there. How does that affect the routes a whole bunch? Because, you know, that looks like back-to-back traffic from Biltmore.
Well, you know, yeah, the back-to-back traffic is what's holding it down. You're right. The other thing that jumps up and gets us, Harvey, is when we interline routes. When we interline routes. So let's say we have the route coming in to the transit center, turning around and going back out east as a different route.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting late because it was late getting in on the other run. So it starts to affect the on-time performance of that secondary run, even and the first run. For instance, on the what is that? The S2 that interlines with what? The
W5.
W5. So see how late that gets? That's because the we route is late. So the S2 gets started late. So it starts to affect that. So, and that's not uncommon in transit systems where you have interlining routes with the same bus when you don't have enough recovery time during peak. And when the traffic is much tighter and worse. One of the things that's hard to do with the schedule is to adjust the schedule that's going to work all day. So you find that medium where, well, quite honestly, the city's objective is to be in the 72% on-time performance. I have been in operations over my career, Harvey, where 89% is the on-time performance goal. The differences in whether you're going to be at 72% or 89%, quite honestly, is all about how much you're willing to spend on capital. And capital is the number of buses on a route for frequency and drivers driving those routes and mechanics fixing those buses. And so it is an expense if you're trying to increase your on-time performance and you don't have any traffic. It's pretty simple. But if you have traffic, as we do, and we do have higher traffic during our seasonal times, and as we get into the fall with the color changes and people coming to town, there's going to be more delays, and that's what happens with the system. But that's what this is recording and showing us. How efficient is it running at the schedules that we do have?
So I have a question, Harvey.
I wasn't
Bill.
through, Bill.
So very interesting
Bill.
point. Yeah. Can you hear
Go
me?
ahead.
Okay.
I wish
So
you would-
very.
I asked everybody, always raise your hand because somebody else is talking and they ask the question, but you're interrupting them.
I'm sorry, I'm not on video because I don't have internet. So
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Bill. I can't see.
So are our on time expectations static? And the reason I asked the question, just to give you context, is that you said that during this period of the year, we have peak traffic. So my question is our expectation about on time, is it dynamic so that we have the capability to understand how our on time should change given different seasons? Or are we in a environment where we are expecting relatively constant transit times regardless of the system? Because this might be something we need to work on. That's my question.
Amber had her hand up. You want to take that one, Amber?
Yeah, her hand up.
Barry, I'll let you join in as well.
Yeah.
Most transit systems set their on-time performance kind of on an average, on a yearly average of what they like to see. I honestly think, I would say we just have a lot of challenges in terms of the investment and resources that we have. I mean, we would love to see on-time performance a little higher. 72 is our realistic goal in terms of our resources, as well as the construction that we see in the community and the traffic congestion we see. We can break it up. If you look at some of these routes on the weekends, they're, the weekday versus the weekends, or at evening, they're better. I mean, you can break that up through this software and kind of look to see where those pain points are. It is hard though, because with traffic construction, with the traffic and the construction, sometimes you just can't plan for those. I mean, you can look at these. What you're looking at is the raw data. There's been nothing exempted from all of these numbers in terms of on-time performance. We didn't exclude any information in terms of traffic when they were repaving Biltmore. Like, there was just some issues that have occurred. And when we send out all those alerts about delays, those are always impacting on-time performance. It would be hard to chase down a dynamic on-time performance without trying to improve resources to meet those. I mean, if you could not interline the routes, you would significantly improve S2 and W5. I mean, there's some things that you look at operationally. We also wanted to take that look with the Joint Transit Plan to look at they call it a COA. It's a comprehensive operational analysis that takes route segment by segment and looks at, efficiencies and ways to make things better. So I think I probably give you a really long explanation, but there's something that can be looked at. It's just very hard without committing. You get better on-time performance when you increase your frequency. When you look at some of these operational issues that we can't afford sometimes, it's hard.
But
Well,
directly,
Amber, that's a great answer. I appreciate it, but it's not what I was asking.
Okay.
What I was asking is, where are we with our ability to forecast time? I mean, we can individually in our cars, we can use Waze, and it's perfect. It knows where there's backups. It knows where there's a congestion. We can do that personally, but I'm interested in what does it take to do that on a transit capability? Because if we have the ability to properly forecast on time, we could see increases in ridership. So it's an open question. Where are we on that? Are we just generic? Or is there something that we should ask for the council to invest in? Or is there something out there in an app that's able to do things at a buck level that it can do on a car level? That's my question.
I guess, you mean that we would plan a schedule with correct time points based on construction?
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking that the world today lives in a dynamic world where we can look at Waze and it says, hey, this is how long it's going to take to get to Atlanta because there's a backup on I-85, right?
Hmm.
So do we need to ask council for budget to get to that level, or are we just stuck? We have a generic, this is our time from Beaver Lake to downtown. It's always 15 minutes. It'll always be 15 minutes. And that's how we're basing our on-time expectation. Because, yeah, if traffic's heavy this month versus last, then our on-time performance is going to be crummy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
what if we could make, I would argue that the right way to get on time is partly more frequency. It's partly things like that, but it's also how reliable is our forecast. So that's my question.
A lot of it is looking at, your operational time points. In terms of fixed route planning, I mean, there's different ways to do that. And Barry, I can let you address that. A lot of it is frequency. To be honest, in terms of we have the technology of riders, they can look to see where the backups are and how long it's going to take. We don't have the ability to shift a route. We can do detours and we can make those changes. But like on the fly, like changing routes to try to adhere, we don't do that in fixed route planning.
I'm not asking for route changes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just asking for better predictability. And the question, I don't even have to ask for that. I just want to know if we're there or not. I don't know what's out.
We have Swiftly that gives you the on-time tracking of the buses that when it's coming. Based on the time point.
So why can't we convert that into our own time percentages?
Well, it's not on time. There's two different things. You're talking about on-time performance, and then you're talking about predictability. They're two entirely different things. Predictability is what we give you. We do give you predictability with the Swiftly program. The on-time performance is most fixed route, unless you're doing a deviated route, that requires more capital. We could run small shuttles into all the neighborhoods and have big buses run up and down the main thoroughfares, and those little buses feed to the bigger buses. It's another, that's an investment.
Well, what I'm suggesting is if you tell the riders that we have predictable performance, and you can tell them that based on what we predict, you can be on time. That's an advantage. And so if we can do that, we should.
So you're saying we don't advertise our Swiftly bus tracker system as well as we could? Is that what you're saying? Because that's what it is.
Well, what I'm hearing in this meeting is on-time performance. And that's a good statistic, great, but it's very static. If we've got a better statistic that says, guess what, people, our on time was 70, but predictability was 95, I want to know 95, because if we've got a way to communicate that to riders, that would be a far better thing to do than talk about on-time performance. Because on-time performance is the external world. It's things that we don't have control over. So I think we should publish things that are things we have control over. And if we have control over predictability, we should make that known and advertise the heck out of it. That's my point of view.
Our Swiftly product does do the predicting, and we can run reports on, the percentage of the analysis and what met up. Am I correct? I think LaShawn and Barry, we have all that, and they can give us that information. And then we can actually find how many people actually access that information, access it each month. We can get that information.
The OTP
that would be very valuable.
OTP has been what has been used for the last 35 years I've been in the business. And it's, it's that time point, and they check them all the time. And, are you 5 minutes late? That tells you whether you're on time or not. And so, yes, you're absolutely correct. This particular document is about on-time performance from the fixed schedule. The predictability part does have a number to it. I don't know if it's 95% or 97%. And I don't know if that is good enough to entice anybody, but hey, it can't hurt to look. It can't hurt
I
to know
think
what
that's
the
worth,
number is and do it.
y'all, my 2 cents is that's worth exploring, because if somebody says you're going to be on time 70%, guess what? I'm not getting on the bus. But if you can say, I'm going to be on time 95% of the time, of the predicted time, then I might get on the bus.
Yeah.
And I think a key component, though, and you hit the nail on the head, is also frequency. I mean, predictability is great 98% of the time, but if you have 45-minute to 90-minute, headways, is still tough to want to get on that bus to get on it. Like an increased frequency, like we have on just some of like some of those corridors, which are easy to market. Some of the others, we'd love to improve the frequency. The transit plan has indicated it. It's just a lot of the resources that are involved that you need to bump up your frequency.
Yeah, no question. We need better frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Great comment. Yep.
Yeah, no, thank you. Sorry, I was trying to track where we were going with that. So I appreciate it. No, we have the tools with Swiftly.
Yeah, and the other thing is the inner lines are part of a capital issue.
Yeah.
We have to use the same bus for 2 different routes. And so how do you do that the most efficient, and yet it's killing your on-time performance?
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of thing you're facing when you're facing the finances that are available. Go catch a bus.
Okay.
Yeah, see, this is a perfect example. Colin has to go.
Yeah.
Catch the bus, Colin. I got my hand raised this time. Okay. Question and point in time, Barry and Amber. In looking at the S6, 10.6%, is that good or bad? I just want to pick one. And then you go on over to the other end, you got 67.7. What's the relativity in those two percentages?
Well, all of this on an average, and you look at the whole scope of it, is 69 point, what was that number up above on that? I can't scroll that up. 69.7% OTP. It's below 72, and that's really our goal. It tells us we're not hitting our 72 goal. Why are we not hitting our goal? We have buses running late. We have a bus getting into a time point early. We've gone through in 2020 when we added the service that we did add and did the interlines that we did. That was the last time we made any changes to the schedules. And then the pandemic hit shortly thereafter. So we never had an opportunity to really start tweaking on the things that this particular schedule showed us we needed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So there is more that could be done with this. It is something that needs to be done, but all of that will require more financing.
But the main question I'm asking, is that good or is that bad? 'Cause coming up between 67 and 10.6%, you only got like 77% right there.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not what you want, but it's also a sign of the route. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, Harvey. No, if you're not hitting 72% OTP, it's not good. So then it boils down to, okay, why am I a little higher on the early? Why am I a little higher on the late? And then that can be drilled into as well and find out what time points are hitting us,
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that I'll get you in that in a minute, Amber. The other thing that I'm getting at is this. When I come from Goodwill and I get to the station, this has happened, and I've been going there for 3 months, just about 3 months. The 6 is sitting on Ashland. Before, a month and a half before, it wasn't sitting on Ashland. It was gone and it was going down Biltmore. But for the last month and a half, well, for the last month, I know a month and a week, it was sitting at the station. It was sitting at Ashland. And then it comes on around, then it sits there for a while too. And I said, it ain't been doing that. I've been taking this bus for a couple of months. And it's been going out to slip when I get into the station from Goodwill. But now it's sitting on Ashland. And then you have to wait like 20, 30 minutes. And then it comes in, it pulls around to the station, goes down the other side, comes back up, and now it's in the slip. And I said, well, I wonder what made that big change. I was happy that it's there.
Yeah, I don't
But
know,
I
Harvey.
just-
I'd have to ask LaShawn and check and see with operations what the reasoning is for that. And we can do that. We can find out for you.
Yeah, because it was sitting on Ashland for like the last month. I said, really? But I was happy.
Yeah.
I didn't have to
Okay.
wait as long on the one. Yeah. Cut a half hour off my time. But like I said, I was just wondering why. But I appreciate all the information that y'all giving us. And now, Amber, you can go ahead.
I can't remember what I was going to say. I think it was in terms of, I reiterate Barry's response in terms of the things you can control and you can work with operators is running hot. And that is leaving your time point early. So we look at that from a staff standpoint too, and work with the team when we see like, hey, what is this? But in a lot of cases, some of it probably does need to, as Barry addressed, there hasn't been any time point changes to any of these schedules since they were put into effect in January of 2020. So sometimes they can be looked at by route on a time point adjustment, but operators should not be leaving their time point early. And Barry would agree with me on that. And he said that they shouldn't be running, they call it hot in the industry. Yep. You shouldn't be doing that, particularly when you have to be mindful of the level of frequency that we have on some of our routes. You can't afford to leave early when the next bus doesn't come there for 45 minutes to over an hour.
Agreed.
Okay. All right. I appreciate staff. I appreciate all the input. It's been refreshing, very refreshing to the mind. Does anyone want to go over any of the other reports? I was just trying to do 2 and time is running.
Yeah.
Gone. It's gone. I like that. We made it. And had a quorum too. It's just getting better. It's just getting better. I like that. But if anybody didn't have anything else to say or want to discuss, I guess I'll adjourn the meeting. And our next meeting will be August the 15th, 2023. I appreciate everybody coming, and everybody's input is valued. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you.